Good evening and welcome to Hudson Valley Week in Review, where we look back at the people, places, and issues making news in Ulster County and the region. I'm Greene. We begin tonight in Woodstock, where a local artist is using her talent to create a new exhibit featuring portraits of the people from the town. Claire Lamb, originally from Dublin, Ireland, works at the Woodstock Library every Friday and invites anyone from the town to join her, whether to be painted or to simply watch her create the pieces. The goal of the community project is to portray the Woodstock community as it is in 2015. We recently visited Claire at the Woodstock Library. She shared some of her finished work with us and explained the significance of the community project.
So ever since I was little, I always worked in art. I mean, there were other things that I wanted to do as well, obviously like any child growing up. But I think the fact that I was I had this ability meant that everybody around me decided as well that that's what I was going to be. So it was like I didn't really have a choice in the matter, let's put it that way. When I was 17, I went to art school straight out of high school, and I did a foundation year and I studied graphic design at that point. And then I decided that graphic design wasn't what I really wanted to do, so I left, and a few years later I went back to art school and I went to the National College of Art and Design in Dublin, and I got a bachelor's degree there in fine art print, and then I did a postgraduate year in art education, and then, if that wasn't enough, when I moved to the United States, I went to the City University of New York at Brooklyn College, and I did a master's degree. So I probably could have been a brain surgeon with all the time that I put into, all the years that I put into studying art. Well, I exhibit a fair bit locally, and also now and then I get to exhibit back in Ireland, where I come from. And I actually taught for many years in Ireland, and here at the moment I'm teaching a portrait drawing and painting class at the Woodstock School of Art, and that's every Wednesday afternoons for anybody who is interested in taking some classes. It's actually great fun. Well, in terms of exhibits, I was included in 2012 in the Hudson Valley Artists 2012 in the Dorsky Museum, and so that was certainly a highlight of my exhibiting here in the Hudson Valley since I moved here in 1996. And this year I'm going to have some works in a show, one show coming up in the Muroff Cotler Gallery in SUNY Ulster, that's in Stone Ridge, New York, and that'll be that's the subject, or the theme of that is peace and justice. So I've got a piece in that that's relating to that theme, and I have another piece in a show coming up later in the spring in Newburgh, and that's called About Water. So it's a whole exhibition that is asking the artists to consider water as and the value of water in our lives. In terms of writing, I also write about art. I write commentary for an online magazine called Roll Magazine, and that's basically www.rollmagazine.com. And if you go to the art section, you will find a lot of writing by me. I mentioned the Woodstock School of Art. I've been very involved with the Woodstock School of Art for the last 3 or 4 years, and I monitored the life drawing open studio, and in the course of that, that's actually what brought me back to working primarily with the figure, and then eventually that was primarily with portraiture. So and it was this idea I had. I was playing around various ideas about what to do with portraiture, and we live in this kind of very interesting little town here in New York State. So and there's with a lot of very interesting people, and it just came to me that it would be a really fun project to do, to kind of paint the town, to paint the community. And so I was thinking for some time about how I would, how I would do that. And part of it was actually inspired by the people who model in the School of Art, who are local, people of all ages, young and older, and so I'd already built up a certain number of paintings, and I'd already started working on this like 12-inch by 12-inch size. So anyway, it really came out of that, and then it occurred to me that the library, which is like the heart of the community, and particularly this library, in fact, maybe more than any other library I've ever, in any other town I've ever lived in anyway. So it occurred to me that this would be the ideal place to do the project and to let people know that I'm here, and if they would like to sign up and be my subjects / victims for a few hours once a week. I typically would paint in my studio. So what I do here in the library, I mean, I can only expect people to sit for so long, and particularly people, who have, maybe they're elderly, and there's a limit to how long they are, they can sit. And then also, people who are young. In fact, my youngest subject so far is coming in later today, and I've just made a small start on the painting that's going to be him. And so in a case like this, I find that if I make a start on it beforehand with using photographic reference, at least I have the basic outline. I've actually done more on this than I've done on any other painting, because I'm not expecting him, he's only 11 years old, to be, I'm not expecting him to sit for too long. So, so therefore, I found that through trial and error, in fact, that the best way for me to do the works is to begin, just have at least the outline of the drawing done in advance. That will always have to be checked because the photograph does actually lie sometimes, and then I get my hope is to get the maximum amount of work done on the actual features of the face from the person sitting there from life, because I really do think that makes a big difference, in fact, to the end result. And then I can finish stuff at home, in my studio, the hair, bits and pieces of what you can see of the clothing and so on. Really, everybody. I really invited everybody in the community to participate, and it's important that at the end of the project, that however many paintings I get done, that I have a representative community. I have something that represents a community that is, that does include people of different ages, different genders, obviously, and different ethnicities as well. So I'm really encouraging, everybody to come and sign up. I won't be able to paint everybody, but it's my original plan was that it would be very random. That it would be, names would go into a hat and they would be picked out, I mean, not into a general hat, but into a hat according to age and gender and all those other categories. And there is an element of that going on because as people are signing up, some of the people. There might be a name I know, a lot of the names I don't know. I only met this little boy last week for the first time. So, so that's kind of exciting. Woodstock is kind of famous as an art colony, and yet at the same time, I think there's and also of course for music and so on, and particularly people think of Woodstock and they think of the 1969 or 68, whatever it was. They think of the rock festival and they think of Bob Dylan and Levon Helm, of course, and all these famous music people that were here. But actually, it started as an art colony back in 1912, or in fact earlier than that. I think like 1908. Artists started to come here, and the Art Students League had a school here dating from I think about 1912 or 13, and that's actually now the Woodstock School of Art. So I think it's important also because even though Woodstock is known as this art colony, and at the same time a lot of people are not necessarily part of that, and even though we have a lot of probably more artists per square mile in this area than most places have, it doesn't mean that everybody actually gets to see how art is made and gets to participate in it. So what I really like about this project is it's really a kind of a democratizing of this genre of portrait painting, and it's really like literally bringing the making of it in right here into this place where people can come and go and can look over my shoulder. I'm perfectly happy to have people looking over my shoulder. One of the parts of the project actually is that the people who I paint must also draw me. So everybody who, I have a nice little handy dandy pad, also square, and so anybody who at a certain point in the process, maybe take a break and they do a little sketch of me, and even if they're not comfortable doing a sketch, they can write a description of me, or they can write a haiku or whatever they like. And I mean, it could be a smiley face, or I don't know, a cross face, and that's something that I don't know whether that will be part of what I show here in the library, because we're there's not that much room to display work, but I certainly would love that in a bigger space down the road to have all of those drawings also displayed together. I haven't really pinned that down yet, but I'm thinking that somewhere, maybe around the middle of July, or maybe in the first couple of weeks of July, that I'll display them here in the library, and then at the end of July, then I bring them to Ireland, and then when I come back, I will be looking for maybe a more conventional venue to display them.
When we return, we stop by another Ulster County restaurant getting its menu ready for Hudson Valley Restaurant Week. Stay with us.